Okay, imagine this. You're paddling down this river,
Hmm.
and it's so clear you can see every detail of the bottom, like the fish are swimming right there between your kayak and the rocks.
Wow.
And then rising up in the background, you have Sleeping Bear Dunes.
Yeah.
That's the Crystal River in Glen Arbor, Michigan. And we're going to deep dive into it today because we got a request from a listener who is thinking about kayaking it.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, so we're going to cover an overview of the river, the kayaking experience itself, some highlights, and then some nearby attractions you can check out too.
Sounds good.
So what really makes the Crystal River stand out is the water clarity.
Yeah, it's incredible. You can see like 15 feet straight down.
Wow.
Imagine water so pure. That's because the water is mainly from these underground springs and it's filtered through limestone.
Oh, so that's what gives it that like almost unreal transparency.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Okay, so it's not just any river water.
Right.
For someone who's never paddled it before,
Mm.
can you set the scene a bit? How long is this river? What kind of environment can you expect along the way?
Okay, so the Crystal River is about 6 miles long, so it makes a really enjoyable half-day trip.
Okay.
So you're looking at around 2 to 3 hours of paddling, depending on your pace and how often you start to take it all in.
Yeah.
And as for the environment, get ready for a variety of scenery. You'll start off going through these really dense cedar forests,
Oh, wow.
and the branches almost form a tunnel over the water, and then it opens up a bit, and you'll pass through these grassy marshlands, and the whole time in the distance, you'll see these towering sand dunes.
Oh, wow.
It's a constant reminder that you're in this truly unique place.
Yeah, that must be incredible to see as you're paddling along and these dunes are rising up in the distance.
Yeah,
So if someone's never kayaked before, is this a good river to start with?
absolutely.
What's the difficulty level like?
It's perfect for beginners. The current is super gentle. The
Yeah.
water is mostly shallow, so you don't have to worry about any crazy rapids or anything like that.
Oh, that's good.
There might be a couple of spots where you have to navigate around like a fallen log, or you have to duck under a low-hanging branch.
Okay.
But that just keeps things interesting.
Yeah, just a little bit of a challenge.
Right.
Okay, so that's good to know. Now, let's get practical for a minute. Where are the best places to launch from if you want to kayak the Crystal River?
You have a couple of great options. A really popular choice is Crystal River Outfitters. They rent out kayaks, canoes, and they also offer guided tours if you want to go with a group.
Oh, nice.
And the best part is they also have a shuttle service, so they'll bring you back to your starting point after.
That's super convenient.
Yeah.
Are there any other rental spots out there, maybe if someone's interested in trying like paddle boarding or something like that?
Definitely check out Sleeping Bear Surf and Kayak.
Okay.
They have single and tandem kayaks and, yep, even paddle boards and surfboards if you want to hit the lake after your river adventure.
Oh, nice. Options are always good.
Right.
But let's get to the experience itself. What are some of the absolute must-see highlights along the Crystal River? What's going to make this trip memorable?
I would say the combo of that crystal clear water and the potential for wildlife sightings is what makes this river so special.
Oh, yeah. You know, we were talking about that water clarity. Imagine paddling along and you see a school of fish just flitting around in the shallows.
Oh, yeah.
So you mentioned some unique wildlife. Besides the fish, what else might you see?
Well, this is one of the few places in Michigan where you might actually see a brook trout.
Wow.
They're gorgeous fish that need incredibly clean, oxygen-rich water to survive.
Wow.
And the Crystal River has that. So,
That's pretty cool. Anything else?
oh, tons up above. Keep your eyes peeled for bald eagles.
Really?
They nest in the area, and then there's always a chance of seeing a river otter playing on the bank. Those
Uh,
are always fun.
wow, that's quite a range. Fish, eagles, otters. That
Yeah.
sounds like an awesome opportunity for wildlife viewing. But before we get too caught up in the excitement, I guess we should talk about some safety basics, right?
Yes, definitely safety first.
Okay.
First and foremost, life jackets are required in Michigan for every person in a kayak.
Okay.
So even if you're a strong swimmer, always wear your life jacket.
Good reminder.
Yeah,
What about whether Michigan can be kind of unpredictable?
absolutely.
Wow.
Always check the forecast before you go out on the water because conditions can change very quickly.
Yeah.
So avoid kayaking if there's a chance of storms or high winds.
Yeah, just not worth it.
No.
Now, besides basic safety, are there any river etiquette tips our listeners should keep in mind?
Definitely leave no trace is very important. So pack out everything you brought with you and try to minimize your impact on the environment.
Yeah.
And be mindful of private property along the riverbank. Only get out at designated spots.
Okay.
To respect the landowners. Oh, and one more thing. Watch out for any fallen trees or branches in the water.
Yeah.
You don't want to get hung up or worse, tip over.
Those are great points. Being prepared and respectful goes a long way in ensuring a safe and enjoyable trip for everyone.
Absolutely.
All right, now let's talk about what to pack. Sunscreen's a must, I imagine.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Sun protection is essential even on cloudy days.
Okay.
Sunscreen, a hat, sunglasses with a strap so you don't lose them in the water.
Good idea.
Those are non-negotiables, and definitely bring a waterproof bag for your phone camera. Any other valuables you want to keep dry.
Yeah.
Plus water and some snacks to keep you going.
Makes sense. Any nice to have items that would enhance the experience even further?
Binoculars are great if you want to get a closer look at the birds and the other wildlife.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
And a waterproof camera is a fantastic investment if you want to capture the underwater scenery.
Awesome. All right, now, for the big question, when is the best time to experience the magic of the Crystal River? Is there a certain season or even time of day that's ideal?
Well, summer from June to August is the most popular time. The weather's warm, the trees are lush, and the water's inviting, but I personally find fall to be just as magical, if not more so.
Oh, I bet those fall colors are stunning, reflected in the water.
Oh, they're breathtaking. Plus, you tend to have fewer crowds in the fall, which adds to that sense of peace and tranquility.
Yeah, very nice. So either summer or fall.
Got it. Now, is there a particular time of day that's better for kayaking on the Crystal River?
Early mornings and late afternoons usually offer the calmest water conditions,
Okay.
so it'll be a smoother, more peaceful paddle. Plus, those times often have the most wildlife activity, so you might get to see some creatures out and about.
Oh, cool. That sounds like the perfect recipe for some amazing wildlife encounters.
Yeah.
Before we move on, are there any permits or regulations our listeners should know about?
Kayaking on the Crystal River itself doesn't require any special permits.
Okay.
However, if you plan on fishing, you'll need a valid Michigan fishing license.
Okay.
And while the river doesn't have an entry fee, some access points are within Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore.
Which may require a park pass.
Okay, good to know. Since you mentioned the National Lakeshore, are there any other attractions nearby that would round out this trip?
Well, you can't go to the area without actually experiencing the Sleeping Bear Dunes themselves.
Yeah.
The dune climb is a must-do. It's a bit of a workout, but those panoramic views of Lake Michigan from the top are worth every step.
Oh, I can imagine.
And if you prefer a more relaxed experience, you can take a drive along the Pierce Stocking Scenic Drive,
Okay.
which winds through the dunes and offers amazing overlooks.
Yeah, those views sound incredible.
Mhm.
What about the town of Glen Arbor itself? Anything worth checking out there?
Glen Arbor is this charming little town.
Okay.
You'll find great local restaurants, unique art galleries, charming boutique shops.
So it's nice.
It's a great way to spend an afternoon after your kayaking adventure.
Yeah, perfect. And for those seeking a little bit more of a luxurious experience, I hear there's a pretty amazing resort nearby.
You're talking about the Homestead Resort. It's more upscale, offers lodging, fine dining, a spa, a golf course, a whole range of activities.
Nice.
If you're looking for a full-on vacation package, the Homestead is worth checking out.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Everything from kayaking logistics to scenic highlights and nearby attractions.
Yeah.
Our listeners got a pretty good overview of what awaits them on the Crystal River.
Right.
But there's even more to discover. So stick with us as we continue this deep dive
Yeah.
in part 2.
Coming up. So you know what's really special about kayaking the Crystal River? Is how the experience changes as you move along the river.
Oh, yeah.
Like 1 minute you might be paddling through these quiet stretches of cedar forest, almost like a cathedral.
Yeah.
And the next you're navigating through a narrow passage
Okay.
where branches are brushing against your shoulders.
Wow, that's a good point about the different experiences you can have. And what about wildlife sightings?
Yeah.
You mentioned those earlier. Are there any specific spots where you're more likely to see something?
Well, it's always a gamble with wildlife. You never know exactly what you'll encounter or where.
Right.
But I would say early mornings and evenings are prime time for spotting animals because they're more active during the cooler hours.
Okay.
And keep an eye out for areas where the river kind of widens and forms these little inlets or backwaters.
Okay.
Those quiet spots often attract birds and other creatures looking for refuge.
That makes sense. You know, I'm picturing myself paddling through one of those quiet stretches surrounded by nature's symphony.
Yeah.
What kind of sounds can someone expect to hear along the Crystal River?
Oh, the soundscape is incredible. The most constant sound you'll hear is that gentle lapping of the water against your kayak.
Yep.
But you'll also hear the wind rustling through the cedar branches, almost like a whisper.
Oh, wow.
And of course, there's the chorus of bird songs. You
Wow.
might hear the trill of a cedar waxwing or the chattering of squirrels in the trees
Oh,
or the haunting call of a loon off in the distance.
yeah, that's amazing how all those sounds can really immerse you in the experience.
Right.
Even beyond the visual beauty. Now, you mentioned earlier that there are a few spots where the river narrows
Yeah.
and you might have to do a bit of maneuvering.
Yeah.
Can you tell us more about those?
Yeah.
Do any stand out as particularly memorable or maybe even a little bit challenging?
There's one spot that always comes to mind.
Okay.
There's a section where the river bends sharply and it narrows considerably.
Okay.
And to get through, you actually have to duck under this fallen cedar tree
Oh, wow.
that's partially submerged in the water.
Okay.
It's a tight squeeze,
Yeah.
but it's always a thrill. It's like the river is testing your paddling skills.
Yeah, a touch of adventure thrown in there. I love that.
Exactly.
We've talked about the sights and the sounds. What about just the feeling of being out there on the water? Can you describe the sensation of paddling along the Crystal River?
It's this unique combination of tranquility and exhilaration.
Okay.
There's a rhythm to paddling, this back and forth motion that becomes almost meditative. But at the same time, you're constantly engaged making small adjustments to your course, steering around obstacles,
Okay.
feeling those subtle changes in the current.
Yeah.
And then there's the feeling of the sun on your face, the breeze cooling you down, and maybe a splash of cool water if you get too close to the bank.
Right.
It's really invigorating.
It strikes me as you're describing it, all these sensory experiences really come together to create something special.
Yeah.
It's more than just a physical activity.
Right.
It's an emotional journey as well.
Definitely.
What kind of feelings do people typically describe after kayaking the Crystal River?
People often say they feel a sense of peace and tranquility, almost like a weight has been lifted off their shoulders.
Wow.
I think it's the combination of being surrounded by nature, disconnecting from technology, and engaging in an activity that requires you to focus and be present in the moment.
Right.
It's a chance to clear your mind and reconnect with yourself.
That sounds like the perfect antidote to all the stress of modern life.
It is.
A chance to just unplug, recharge, and be present in the moment.
Exactly.
And it's not just about individual reflection. It's also a great way to connect with others.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Whether you're paddling with family, friends, or even strangers,
Yeah.
there's this shared sense of camaraderie and adventure
Yeah,
that develops out on the water.
absolutely.
It's amazing how shared experiences in nature can bring people together like that.
For sure.
Now, I know our listeners are probably eager to hear more about those wildlife encounters.
Yeah.
So in part 3 of our deep dive, we'll explore the Crystal River's flora and fauna,
Okay.
highlighting some of the amazing creatures you might see on your kayaking adventure.
Welcome back to our deep dive into kayaking the Crystal River. We've talked about the logistics, the sensory experience, and now we're going to get to the heart of it all.
Yeah.
The incredible diversity of life
Right.
that this river is home to.
It's amazing how much life is packed into this 6-mile stretch.
Yeah.
It's like a miniature version of northern Michigan's entire ecosystem.
Wow. You got those towering eastern white cedars lining the banks.
Yeah.
And their roots create these really intricate formations at the water's edge.
Oh, wow.
Almost prehistoric looking.
Yeah.
And as you paddle further, it opens up into these vibrant marshes,
Oh,
teeming with cattails and reeds.
so many different types of environments.
Yeah, it's a haven for all sorts of creatures.
It sounds like a nature lover's paradise.
Oh, yeah.
We've already talked about some of the fish and the wildlife you might see.
Right.
But for someone paddling along, what are some specific plants and animals to look out for?
Well, even underwater, there's a lot to see,
Oh, yeah.
thanks to that incredible water clarity.
Right.
As you paddle along, you might see little clusters of water lilies
Okay.
near the surface.
Yeah.
And below the water, look for submerged logs and rocks.
Okay.
That's where you'll find crayfish and maybe even a painted turtle.
Wow. So it's not just about what's swimming around. There's a whole hidden world
Right.
beneath the surface.
Exactly.
What about the birds?
Oh, tons.
We touched on them earlier,
Right.
but I bet there's more to tell.
You might see a great blue heron,
Okay.
poised gracefully on a log, waiting to snatch a fish.
Oh, wow.
Or listen for the chattering of a red-winged blackbird,
Oh.
perched on a cattail.
Okay.
And if you're lucky, you might even catch a glimpse of a bald eagle soaring overhead.
Wow, a bald eagle. That would be incredible.
would.
Let's not forget the mammals.
Oh, yeah.
What about those furry residents?
Well, white-tailed deer are pretty common.
Okay.
So keep an eye on the riverbanks, especially early mornings and evenings.
Okay.
They often come down to the water for a drink.
Right.
And then the river otters.
Yes.
They're more elusive.
Okay.
But if you spot one, you're in for a treat.
Yeah, I bet.
They're so playful.
Right.
You might see them sliding down muddy banks or chasing each other in the
Oh,
water.
that would be fun to see.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible how much life this river supports,
Yeah?
from fish to birds to mammals and even the plants themselves.
Mhm.
It's a vibrant ecosystem. It is. So as we're wrapping up this deep dive,
Yeah.
what do you think is the key to the Crystal River's biodiversity? Why is it such a magnet for so many different species?
I think it's a combination of factors.
Right.
The clean water is obviously essential
Right.
for a healthy aquatic ecosystem. And the varied landscape with the forests, the marshes, the dunes
Yeah,
creates a mosaic of habitats
Yeah.
for different species to thrive.
right.
And the fact that the river flows through a protected area like Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore
Yeah.
ensures that this environment stays relatively undisturbed.
It's a powerful reminder of how important it is to protect these spaces.
Absolutely.
Not just for the wildlife that depend on them, but for us as well.
Right.
We've learned from this deep dive that spending time in nature,
Yeah.
surrounded by this beauty and diversity, can be a truly transformative experience.
Yeah, it's a chance to reconnect with ourselves,
Right.
to appreciate those simple wonders of nature, and gain a deeper understanding of our place within it.
So to our listener, as you plan your kayaking adventure on the Crystal River,
Yeah,
embrace the tranquility, soak in the scenery,
for sure.
and keep your eyes peeled for the incredible wildlife that awaits you. Happy paddling.